Jim Does SuperCoach. Week 3 of the NFL is in the bag. We're now looking down the barrel of a big week 4. Talk about rubber hit the road time. Jeez. Now we're looking at cash cows, all the trades we need to be making. This is the fun part of SuperCoach. The week in, week out miasma of possibilities. It's awesome, right? And as we, of course, all expected in week 3, your top scorer in all of SuperCoach was Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver Trey Tucker. Sure. Anyway, as we always do on Jim Does SuperCoach, how did we go last week? I managed a 440, which I believe was top 6%. Overall, I'm 396th out of everybody, which is pretty good. Turns out this was a really tough week. Really tough week for a lot of folks out there. The average score was 370. It was 422 last week. Just saying that's pretty big of a drop-off, right? The top 5% average is around that 460 spot as well, so I was quite close, obviously. But I'll tell you what, this is obviously the swings and roundabouts of SuperCoach. Talked last week about the trades I made and how much smarter I was than like the previous week's Jim. Turns out I was wrong. They didn't quite work out. 2 of the 3 that I made last week. Look, I'll break it down very quickly. Jalen Hurts, I moved him on from my flex spot basically because I figured he'd lose a little bit of cash against the Rams. Turns out he was the top scoring quarterback in SuperCoach this week. Of course, 58 points. Danny Dimes, in a massive blowout of the Titans, only managed 31. You're breaking my heart there, Danny Dimes. 27-point differential there. Brutal, but, and I'll get to it in a second, money in the bank. And also my decision of trading out the Denver Broncos defense for the Atlanta Falcons in the end. I decided to go with the Falcons up against Carolina instead of Seattle versus New Orleans, as I'd sort of talked about on this show last week, because I was like, oh, look, Carolina, they're horrible. Atlanta should put up a massive one. They did not, and Seattle were scoring at will on the defensive side of the ball against the Saints. So 28 to 4-point differential there. That's a 24-point differential total. Those 2 trades alone cost me 51 points. What are we doing? That is brutal, isn't it? But I did at least nail the wide receiver swap, Rome Odunze from Matthew Golden. Golden was good. He had 15, but Odunze managed 27, absolutely crushed against Dallas. And that might be the big story this week. Just target anybody who's playing the Dallas Cowboys in SuperCoach, because we saw Caleb Williams put up a massive, massive score. Odunze goes going crashing through to the bank. That was awesome. So a minus 39 net differential in points on my trades this week. Horrible, but I do have 14.5 mil in the bank because of them, and we did at least grow that purse a little bit. So happy days kind of there, right? So anyway, let's get into the top performers of the week for SuperCoach NFL. The QB position, as I mentioned, Jalen Hurts is number 1. He had 58. You had Caleb Williams with 57. Amazing gear against the Dallas Cowboys. Lamar Jackson still managed 54 despite, always seeming to be going backwards every time he was trying to run the ball. 54 up against the Detroit Footballing Lions. Geno Smith, 52, making me look smart in NFL SuperCoach draft. And Josh Allen, 5th overall with 46. Still made a little bit of cash, Josh Allen. Not bad there. 130K up against Miami. Expected him to even go a little bit bigger. Drake May with 40. Marcus Mariota with 40. And Baker Mayfield, 34. Tough sledding for the top line QBs, really, because Jaden Daniels sits out. Just a bit of a tough one overall. Hurts was good. Jackson was good. Allen was good. And we've got no Joe Burrow. It's all getting a bit sideways. It's all getting a bit. The running backs, Jonathan Taylor goes back-to-back as your top-ranked running back as well. 62 for him. 57 for David Montgomery's teammate, Jahmyr Gibbs with 48 as well. 47 for Jordan Mason, just running through that entire Bengals defense, if we want to call it that. Horrible gear from them. And Amari Hampton, one of the most traded out players last week, he managed 43. That was awesome against the Broncos. Great job by him. The rookie goes whapang because they lost Najee Harris. He turns into a bell cow. Hope he didn't trade him out. Happy I've still got him on my bench. Coming up in 6 was Cam Scudaboo, and then James Cook at 38, Christian McCaffrey 37, Kyron Williams 35, Kenny Walker at 34. The rookie, Quinshon Judkins, 31 in his second actual game out there. Not bad for the rookie Brown. In terms of wide receivers, little bit different there. Trey Tucker, obviously, as mentioned, 73. Tops the wide receiver ranks. 41 for Cortland Sutton on Denver in the second spot. 39, A.J. Brown. Jim, did you say last week to trade him out? Maybe. His break-even was massive and he still lost 1.6 mil. So I'm just saying. If you're looking and keep an eye on that cash, come on. Garrett Wilson, fourth with 38. Nico Collins and my beloved JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 36 points apiece, along with Luther Burden. Amon-Ra St. Brown was fantastic as well. He had 34, same as Puka Nacua and Devonta Smith, Keenan Allen, Michael Pittman Jr. round at your sort of top 10 with 32 each. The tight ends, of course. Hunter Henry, 50. He's like Drake May's favorite target because he's not the one fumbling the ball. Looking at you, everybody else. Mark Andrews, 48. Dalton Kincaid with 30. Jake Ferguson, 29. Not bad from him. And TJ Hawkinson had 26. Trey McBride tops basically my team for the tight end, scoring with 25 there too. Bit of a disappointing one for Brock Bowers at 15. Tyler Warren, the rookie, is on everyone's team as well. 56% of us have Tyler Warren. He had 10. Kickers, I mean, this is where we start getting a bit weird because, of course, Chase McLaughlin had 42 points and still lost money, which is amazing. Jason Myers, Josh Carty, despite getting a bunch of his kicks blocked on the Rams, they both had 34. Ryan Fitzgerald had 30. Will Reichard and Matt Gay, 28 apiece as well. The defense special teams this week was a really fascinating because the Vikings just absolutely dominated that Cincinnati Bengals team. They managed 60 points. That's what happens when you get a bunch of pick sixes returned to just absolute chaos. Carolina, they managed 44 against Atlanta, which is crazy. 32 for the Steelers, third against my beloved Patriots because of all those fumbles. 30 for the Colts, 28 for the Seahawks and the Bucks as well, the top five. Just basically shows defense special teams can be a little bit tougher to obviously predict because you think about, well, Denver go absolutely hammer and tongs up against the Chargers, and they are, the highest priced defense basically up until the Vikings had their big price rise this week after dropping a 60 piece. Denver managed 18 points still up against the Chargers. Now they have Chicago. So, I don't know, Denver not too bad, especially when I'm like, all right, cool, let's stream Atlanta, and they stink and look absolutely completely all out of sorts and managed 4. You're breaking my heart. Anyway, the surprise is obviously the Vikings defense special teams. Hurts versus the Rams was a bit of a surprise there for me as well. Caleb Williams versus Dallas, but as I mentioned, we should actually just be targeting teams playing Dallas. Just SuperCoach rolled gold at this point. Jonathan Taylor going back-to-back as your leading running back was a bit of a surprise. He was just super solid both these 2 weeks. James Cook and Josh Allen didn't dominate Miami in the way that maybe they could have. They were both very solid, but weren't absolutely top end. Cam Scatterboo on that New York Giants team. He has taken that lead back role. He was absolutely unreal in what was otherwise a horror show there for New York up against Kansas City. And now they've made the switch from Rusty Wilson to your man Jackson Dart. So maybe, just maybe, that helps Scatterboo and helps Malik Neighbors. Who knows? We're going to find out this week. Mark Andrews goes bang. That was a big surprise. Hunter Henry as well. Obviously, the Trey Tucker score for the Raiders in a game they were never in. Like, that was crazy. And Chase McLaughlin, the 42. That was just out of the blue. Like, I'd sort of liked him going into the season. But, I mean, just that's 3 game-winning drives the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have needed to go to 3-0 this year. And he's been, a little bit, he still lost 10K this week despite the 42 because that's how big his break-even was last week. So the biggest flops of the week, obviously Atlanta's defense special teams. How about the Ravens defensive special teams managing a -8? Yeesh. Zay Flowers, after his couple of awesome weeks, 4 points. Malik Neighbors, 4 points. Troy Franklin, only 3 points. Brutal. 14 for Saquon. Derrick Henry only managed 20 as well. Drake London had 16 against Carolina. I thought he was going to go massive. He did not. Bijan Robinson managed 26. Not quite enough. Brian Thomas Jr. on the Jags, 13 points after 13 and 16 the 2 prior weeks. His teammate, Travis Hunter, just the Jags wide receiver situation week in, week out is just really rough. I don't mind it, though. It might let Brian Thomas Jr.'s price bottom out a little bit more before he really kicks into gear in a couple of weeks' time, maybe. Hunter, however, just hasn't really come onto the scene with a big bang like someone like Emeka Egbuka down there in Tampa Bay, who was crushing it, by the way. Ashton Genty as well, 12 points again. That's just brutal. How about Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson? These are the sort of big worries of the week, right? Jamar Chase comes into the season, rolled gold, super coach, nugget. Ought to be QB proof. He and Justin Jefferson, you feel like. But their offenses, backup QBs at the moment, are both kind of a little bit shoddy. At least Minnesota's defense is keeping them in games and doing pretty well. But since he just really struggling to move the ball at all, Minnesota on offense have a couple of moments, but Carson Wentz there now. Jefferson, maybe, but they've got the Steelers this week. I'm basically steering clear of both Chase and Jefferson this week. Minnesota play in Ireland against Pittsburgh, so it's a bit of a weird one. And Cincy, I mean, just anytime you're sitting there going, oh, it's fine. Jake Browning is okay, isn't he? And it's like, well, turns out maybe not. And now they play Denver at Mile High. So we're trading Jamar Chase. I'm just kind of thinking about that. Other big worries. Houston's offense is just abysmal. Nico Collins is still putting up decent numbers, but he's also having these moments like where you have like a drop or a fumble and stuff, and you're just like, dude, you're killing me here. Jaden Daniels and that Washington offense. So Jaden Daniels carrying a knee injury. Marcus Mariota steps in pretty nicely this week. Terry McLaurin actually sort of got going. You had Debo, Bill McCoskey, Merritt, like a couple of nice little moments there. Debo didn't do too much. The problem is if Daniels comes back and is sort of carrying that knee, I want to wait and see if he comes back and he's fully healthy, before I'm jumping back on the Jaden Daniels train. Anyone versus Cleveland or Minnesota at this point as well? The offenses, I think that means Detroit and Pittsburgh this week, right? Cleveland absolutely strangulated the Green Bay Packers this week. We're steering clear of them. Basically, of anyone. Look, Detroit, though, I guess the big difference for Detroit this week is it's actually in Detroit. The Green Bay game against Cleveland was in Cleveland. Cleveland pull out the win, a big emotional win. It probably puts a little bit of a ceiling on the scoring of the Detroit running backs, maybe on Amon-Ra, but there is a lot of really good variability to that Detroit offense that I don't mind, especially against this Cleveland offense. So I'm probably not as concerned, especially as that it'll be Cleveland on the road versus Cleveland at home. So Detroit might not be as good as they were this week, but still. Whereas Pittsburgh, I'm just like, oh, I want no bar of that offense this week. KC, what do you do about a problem named Kansas City? Jeez. It's like, yeah, they have some moments here and there against the Giants. Otherwise, it was crazy. Tyquan Thornton was incredible. I'll get to him in a second in the cash cows, but yeesh. And Cincy. I mean, the Chase setup, T. Higgins, Chase Brown, all of them are a bit of a wait and see until Jake Browning gets a bit of a handle of this offense. Because at the moment, wouldn't touch him with a barge pole. Who are the cash cows we're watching this week, Jim? QBs. Caleb Williams, after playing Dallas, he's got a break even of 10. That'll be a $1.5 million price rise on 20.1 mil starting price. Not bad. Danny Dimes still got a break even of 20, projected to rise almost another mil after his 31 this week. Not bad. Cam Ward, break even of minus 14, managed 25 last week on a 0 break even. So he'll keep going up. As I've said, though, I've got JJ McCarthy on my bench. I don't mind that. It sort of feels like the Carson Wentz situation in Minnesota has a limited shelf life. And once JJ's good to go, he'll come back and keep making us a bit of money. And it's fine to have like a floating donut on your bench in NFL SuperCoach in case you want to, pull a bit of a loophole with your captaincy, with your VC, just saying. So the thing is, outside of that, Drake May, 19.6. It's a pretty high price point for him anyway. A break even of 7, plays Carolina at home this week. He should rise up pretty dramatically too. But otherwise, it's basically Cam Ward of your rookie QBs and very little else, at least in terms of the cash cows, because with JJ on the bench, she's a bit light on, isn't it? So look, QBs though, you feel okay if you've just got Cam Ward or JJ, because otherwise, like Mac Jones, he's already priced at 11 mil, right? Spencer Rattler, you don't have him in your team, and if you do, bless you, but geez, 13 mil already for him. Break even to 0. Tyrod Taylor, break even to 1. I'm not starting a Jets QB. Dylan Gabriel, he's gotten in for a couple of snaps here and there. Nah. Justin Fields, no. Davis Mills, no. Yeah, just pack her up, boys. There's just nothing really going with your break-evens on your QBs for your cash cows this week. Your running backs, however, Cam Scatterboo, he's unreal. Price 6.3 mil. Break even a minus 35, 2.6 mil price rise or thereabouts incoming. Love his job, love his workload. He's going to be fantastic for the Giants. Bashal Tootin for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last week he was 3.7 mil. Now he's 5 mil. He's got a break even a minus 18. Love me some Tootin. The problem is, do you downgrade Genty to Tootin when Genty's still got a decent break even? Do you go from one of the other bigger ones to keep making all that cash so you've got absolutely a loaded roster by the end of the season? Maybe. These are the big decisions, especially when you've got a lot of awesome sort of running back cash cows in the likes of Scatterboo or Hampton or Tootin. And even Quinshon Judkins, 4.2 mil, break even a minus 27, plays Detroit this week. Bit worried about that, but he's going to rise high in the old pricing range. Hampton, Amarian Hampton, last week had a break-even of 4, goes bang for his 43. Not bad. Now he's got a break-even of minus 16, 1.6 mil price rise incoming. Jonathan Taylor at the top end as well. How's he cash cow, Jim? Well, he's not really, but he's going to still make a bunch of money. He's got a break-even of minus 9, despite being priced at 21.7 mil. He could rise up to about 23 at the end of next week, 24 even. Could be a 2.5 mil price rise on Jonathan Taylor. So if you've got one of your high-price running backs you're not happy with, it's fine to switch to him. Just saying. If you want to go Bijan to Jonathan Taylor as a bit of a side swap, Bijan might lose a little bit more cash this week. JT might keep cruising. Jeremy McNichols is another one to keep an eye on in Washington. 4.8 mil. He's got a break-even of minus 8. Javonte Williams rose 2.8 mil already last week. Now has a break-even of minus 4. Could rise another 1.5 mil as well for the Dallas Cowboys. Etienne, Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, all in this sort of mixer. Another 1 million price rise if you've got them on your team. The cheapies, Bill Krosky Merritt, break even now at 5 against Atlanta. No Austin Eckler, little bit more of a sort of committee vibe there, but he still got in for a touchdown. I'm keeping him around if he's on your team. Travion Henderson is okay for another week or two as well. After all the fumbles from Ramondre Stevenson on the Pats, expect a lot more Henderson work, I reckon, this week, as long as he looks after the ball and his pass protection's okay. They play Carolina. They're at home. I'm keeping Henderson for another week just to see if we get a bit more cash out of him. Genty, that break-even is 6. It's fine. They play Chicago this week. He won't lose money. And against Chicago, who knows? He could go absolutely massive. Wouldn't be a big surprise from me. The Raiders, this is an absolute kitchen sink game for them, I reckon. Their season could almost be cooked if they lose this against Chicago. So, a lot of Genty. The wide receivers... for your cash cows, Rome Odunze still had the break-even of minus 41 last week. It's still minus 25. He's at 11.3 mil. Could go up another 2.5 mil pretty easily. Egbuka, the break-even is minus 6. He's at 7.6 million as well. Already the rookie. Love his job security. Mike Evans is already injured. He's just going to keep going to the moon. Egbuka is a lock and load each and every week at this point. Tyquan Thornton, I mentioned him at the top for KC. Interesting one. Break-even of minus 25. He's priced already at 6.1 mil. He's the only receiver left standing in KC, though, so not a bad option. He's just a little bit too boom or bust. You saw it on the throws that Mahomes was getting to him as well. It's like he's down there somewhere, he'll get it. He got it both times. One time it came back. The second time they spammed the play and it worked. Can he keep on doing that, though? That's going to be the question. I'd probably stay clear. The boom or bust, it's so hard already with wide receivers week in, week out to predict. We're trying to really negotiate matchups across our starting wide receivers. To have a really boom or bust one is a bit tough if it's not a top-end boom or bust sort of option like, I don't know, Malik Neighbors, I'm looking at you. Troy Franklin still has a break-even of minus 13 despite a quiet week this week, and Denver plays Cincinnati this week. So RJ Harvey, Franklin, all of your Denver sort of hello, rookies, just saying. Maybe keep them there. Trey Tucker, the 10.7 mil after the 70-odd this week. Price rise of 2.3 mil next week with the break-even of minus 24. Our other rookies as well. Tet McMillan, break-even of minus 7. He's already at 6.2 mil. He'll go up another mil as well. Luther Burden, 5 mil for the Chicago Bears. Dar Bears, minus 13. His break-even is this week after 36 this week. Not bad. Solid cash cow, but training him in is a bit tough because he could be the third or fourth option week in, week out for that Bears team. And who knows? They're not going to play Dallas every week, right? So Probably going to steer clear of Luther. Dimey Brown for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's also got a break even of -5. He could go up a fair whack. He's at 5.2 mil. Don't mind him a bit. One I prefer maybe, Torrey Horton on the bubble this week at 3.7 mil for the Seattle Seahawk wide receiver. Break even of -22. He and JSN, don't mind that little combo. And I mentioned like one of the, flops this week was Zay Flowers. -12. His break even still is after a massive game last week. Watching Lamar target Rashad Bateman time and time again, while Zay Flowers just like going, come on, man, I'm awesome. That's why I didn't downgrade to him last week, just because I preferred Rome Odunze. I just think he's got a bigger, better role in an offense that Caleb Williams is just like, I need to throw this ball. Whereas Lamar loves Rashad Bateman, loves Derrick Henry. So, yeah. Tight ends, your cash cow, Jake Ferguson, break even to -14. Love him as well because he's going to get a huge share of the targets now with no CeeDee Lamb for 3 to 4 weeks. He's a great option at 7.7 mil. Hunter Henry at 9.9 mil as well after he's 50 this week. Break even to -2. Plays Carolina as well. Not bad. Just don't know if I've got Brock Bowers and I've got Trey McBride. I'm probably not going to downgrade either of those to Hunter Henry because I think Bowers has got a good matchup. And McBride has just been super solid. So your kickers, look, just keep rolling with Tyler Loop. You should be fine. Or Brandon Aubrey. Outside of that, who are the big trades? I mean, obviously this week, the big news with the injuries, right? CeeDee Lamb, he's guts to go 3 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. That's also like the big sort of query and qualm on a high ankle sprain is how quickly you come back and how often it's going to keep on hurting you as you sort of try to play through it. That it does mean that George Pickens gets pretty interesting. Priced at 11.8 mil as your Dallas Cowboys now #1 wide receiver, and same thing goes for Jake Ferguson in the tight end spot. He and Pickens will get a lot more looks. Don't mind that. But CeeDee Lamb's got to go. And James Conner, 2% owned. The Arizona running back means Trey Benson is a solid cheapie pickup as well. Jamar Chase, what are we doing here? That's the big news as well this week. We can probably spend that 21 mil of his better elsewhere, can't we? Puka Nacua is probably going to be my trade target this week. Chase still has a break even of 38, but he plays Denver this week. Denver's defense has been slightly overrated. You saw the Chargers just go at them this week, right? Time and time again. Just going, all right, cool, McConkey, Johnson, Keenan Allen. Doesn't matter. We're going to keep throwing it, but I don't know. That's Justin Herbert. Jake Browning is not Justin Herbert, so I'm probably going to have to trade Jamar Chase. Derrick Henry, his break even is up to 80. He's already lost 1.7 mil. He's priced at 20.8. If you've got him, there's 17% still own Derrick Henry. I'll probably jump off his price at the moment. It'll probably plummet for a couple more weeks. Then you can jump back on when he's a bit cheaper. Ravens have KC this week as well. They're ranked 18th in yards against on the run. Maybe Henry gets loose, but the fumble problem has been just a bit weird this year, and he's going to lose a bunch of cash anyway. Other possible trade-outs, obviously Jaden Daniel, if you've got him and you held him for this week, it's probably worth just, I don't know, jumping off for a week again. But if you've kept him, don't worry about trading him out. Look, he'll be back in a week or two. Break even to 49, even if he does play us up against Atlanta, that might be a decent scoring game if he gets back. But I just don't like having injured players on my SuperCoach team, obviously, especially at QB when there's better options, especially at the price that Jaden Daniels is. Josh Allen, break even to 75, but he's got New Orleans. He might go massive and get that, right? He had 77 week 1. He could be fine. Baker Mayfield, break even 56, plays Philly this week. They own the Eagles, do the Bucks. So Baker, I wouldn't be too afraid with that 56, especially with the problems the Eagles have had in the secondary. If Baker just starts slinging it, he might be putting up pretty big SuperCoach numbers. So they're the sort of names that you'll see this week about possible trade-out candidates. If I've got them, I'm sticking fat. All the Cincy players, however, if I've got any of them on my team, they've got to go. Even Chase Brown, I've got him in one of the draft leagues. He's got to go. Saquon's got a break even of 68. He was fine last year against Tampa Bay, but I mean, if you want to jump off and avoid a price drop, I'm not going to argue with you. Justin Jefferson, this is the other one, right? So Chase and Jefferson, break even of 46 for Justin Jefferson in Ireland against Pittsburgh. I'd probably jump off right now. Maybe let him drop a couple of price points again. Price points over the next couple of weeks, then get back on and go from there. Holding Bijan, I think maybe he's got a break even of 45. He plays Washington. They're 12th against the run, but 20th overall, so maybe he gets a bit more passing work. They fired their wide receivers coach this week, did the Falcons, after this shutout against Carolina. They'll be out for blood. I reckon Bijan will be a big part of that. They're at home as well. I think there's a big difference between Atlanta on the road and at home. Brock Bowers, break even of 40, clearly carrying a bit of an injury. Play Chicago this week, though. They're 27th against the pass, so I'm sticking fat with Brock Bowers. So at the moment, my trades, look, we'll reveal all of this on Friday, but mostly the biggest one for me is Chase. Puka Nakua's projected actual total this week is massive. It's like 44 against for the Rams against the Colts. That seems pretty good. I don't mind that. Puka is probably the best option right now, that really high-priced bracket of wide receivers, right? Essentially, just as you look at all the projections, very simply, he is really your sort of standout, top-notch, top-price one. Because Amon Ra, as good as he was last week, priced at 19.2 mil, at the 36 last week, whatever it was. They do play Cleveland this week. The Lions are at home, but I just don't know if I want to go with Amon Ra. I feel like Puka is probably a bit of a better choice, especially considering they're basically priced the same at 19.1 and 19.2 mil. Other ones that I don't mind this week, if you're going to like maybe move on from Chase down to somebody else, it's Puka, Amon Ra. If you don't have JSN, I'd probably go to JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe Nico Collins, because I think they might get a bit going this week against the Jags. Bit of a dart throw. You could maybe go Tyreek Hill or something against the Jets, but that entire thing. Drake London is a bit of a bounce back against Washington, perhaps. 14 mil there for him, but yeah, I think Puka is probably the big one. And if you want to go Jonathan Taylor, as I mentioned, like Saquon, if you want to jump off that massive break even to 68, maybe try out Jonathan Taylor before and bank a bit of money. If you think that Saquon's going to lose a bit of cash, I'm not going to argue with you there. But that's it. Plenty going on. So at the moment, I've only got Chase to Puka as my sort of absolutely locked-in spot. The other one might be Genty down to Cam Scatterboo. Genty's matchup is very nice. Scatterboo has got a huge break-even. Maybe it's Trevion Henderson who gets cut. Maybe it's a big downgrade. But I've got Hampton and I've got Henderson on my bench, so I'd probably try my absolute hardest to get Scatterbo in, and my other one would probably be getting Puka in. So that's where we're at the moment. I like Scatterbo, love his role, and I'd be trying to get him into the team. I've already got Hampton. He's the clear number one now there in LA. Henderson, probably a couple more queries about him rather than Scatterbo. So look, Henderson could go bang. Don't know if this is going to backfire too much, though, if you go Henderson down to Scatterbo. But basically, I'll be getting Scatterbo into my team. Yeah, there you go. So those are the two for the minute. All right, there you go. That's it. SuperCoach Week 3 done. Week 4 previewed. We'll be doing the team reveal on Friday. So check that all out. Make sure you're subscribed across all of the socials to Jim Does SuperCoach. And, of course, NFL Australia. We broke down all of Week 3 and set you up for Week 4, Gaz and I, on the show. So go subscribe and watch that. That's it. It's been Jim Does SuperCoach. Have a great week. Happy SuperCoaching.